Name is Rajae Gayle. Job title is loan consultant. I think the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about the job is just the people and the culture. I think when I'm here sometimes, I don't even think about the job, even though yes, you're bombarded a lot of the times with the day-to-day activities, but you're reminded, or there is just refreshing energy that comes with being a part of the company altogether. And I think it's because of the direction and the leadership that is here, it really helps to create a sense of, we're all going in the same direction. We're all just trying to help people. And yet, even though you're a loan officer, it doesn't mean you're strictly just here to be a loan officer. You're just here to give of yourself to help the company and to, in exchange, help other people. So I think that's been like one of the biggest things that I've realized here. The culture, the leadership that is here has really created a big impact on myself and how I should look to approach my business, especially with just wanting to help people and doing whatever you can to help people. That's been like one of the biggest impact for me, not just looking at it from the job standpoint, but just holistically the company standpoint, being a part of this team. That's what I think has been most impactful. So before I was a loan officer, I was a realtor in Florida. So that pretty much it's been a little over 2 years, maybe 2 years and like a couple weeks now. So that was another experience that was, I learned a lot from that experience. And then previous to that, as mentioned, I was in the science world. So I was before I guess going to DC, I was in the nutrition field. So I was like a nutrition education coordinator at a nonprofit in DC. So it's funny because I've touched in different industries, but that's pretty much where my background, I guess, aligned with. And I was in the fitness industry for a little bit as a personal trainer also. I think how I treat my business altogether, I'm looking back at my previous experience. My background was initially in sciences, so I didn't really have much of a big business background. So yes, I was an entrepreneur in different ways or avenues, but having a structural business background wasn't there. And I think coming here has taught me a lot, seeing Chris, Mike, seeing Aaron, seeing Brendan, all these people, how they approach their job and how they approach their business has made me realize, okay, that's the hat I need to put on in order to become successful. And I think that's a big part of what I had been yearning for, just having to see someone execute and make it happen and seeing what it took to then help me adapt to that mindset and that workflow to kind of create a similar system based on what I want for myself. And I think that's really been very impactful and very helpful for me based on where I'm coming from. Okay, so sometimes I wish you could like go in my brain and like see like all the visions from like 10, 12 years back. Like it's crazy. Like so in Jamaica, because I have an athletic background, like once I was in high school, so I went to Monroe College in Jamaica, and it's one of the top all-boys high school in Jamaica, and it's a boarding school also. So upon going to Monroe, my vision was, okay, how am I gonna get from here? Because at that point my goal was to go to medical school. How am I gonna get from point A to point B of becoming a doctor and eliminating the expense of going to school and all that? So early on, at 12 years old, I was saying, all right, well, the best route based on what I'm seeing since I started high school was I'm going to have to get a scholarship. Because I was looking at my familial circumstances and I was like, okay, my mom is not going to be able to afford to pay for me to go to medical school because it's a lot of money, whether in Jamaica or out of Jamaica. So early on, I was like, okay, I need to join do something. I need to use my skills to get me somewhere. So I started with soccer, and then I didn't really get far in soccer when I first started high school. So then I realized, okay, maybe soccer is not the right route. So that first year at high school, what ended up happening was that I had went to a track and field practice randomly, and I was like, at that time, like I used to prefer doing like long jump and stuff like that because I was a little faster and all that stuff, and I was really big for my age. So I decided to go by the throwing circle where they were throwing discus, and this guy by the name of Omar Bryan, if he's watching this, you'll be laughing. He said, come over to the throwing ring and throw the discus. So, at that time, the discus was I think it was either a 1.5K for guys, I think, I don't remember. So I picked it up, and of course I threw it very far. And they were like, okay, you're not doing anything else with your life, you're gonna be a thrower. And from that day, that was the end of it. I pretty much committed to throwing, and I ended up doing discus, shot put, and javelin while I was in high school, and that allowed me to pave the way to get a full scholarship to go to Howard University in the US. So at that time I said I could have stayed in Jamaica, but my main goal, as I said, was to create a way that I could edify myself without there being a lot of expenses. So I said, you know what, it would just make more sense to go abroad. And it was all of our goals to just leave from Jamaica to go abroad on scholarships, like everyone who was on the team at least. And so that's what pretty much happened, and that's what got me here. Yeah, definitely. So having been in America for a couple of years now, like after leaving, I've observed a couple of things, especially for people leaving from, another country coming here. But in this case specifically, it's just talking about Jamaica, and from my high school in particular. I realized that there wasn't enough guidance or mentorship for folks coming up. Because it's a very big commitment. It's a very big journey for one to leave one's own country and go to another, not having anybody here, and to be able to survive and make ends meet and make it all happen. Especially if you don't have like a familial, support system here. Fortunately, I had the Campbell family and the Cunningham family in DC that I was able to lean on for support, and also Uncle Tony. Well, there are two Uncle Tonys, but they were able to help me also, which I'm, sincerely thankful for their help. So what I realized was that unless you had certain support system in place, it would be very hard for you to realistically survive. Even though you're on a full scholarship, it doesn't mean that all your bills are taken care of. It doesn't mean that you'll have an extra, change in your pocket to go, buy something additional, extra clothes, this, that, and the third. And then on top of that, having the guidance of knowing what direction you should probably go once you get here, and what to really do practically and proactively while you're in school, so that once you finish, you're employable individual. Because for one, you don't have the necessary, like status or employment authorization in order to like just get any job you want. So there were a lot of gaps, and I realized that among my high school specifically, that gap needed to be bridged. And so I said I'd create a nonprofit called MC Men of Excellence Incorporated in order to provide mentorship for the guys who are transitioning from my high school to come abroad, whether they're athletic or non-athletic. So to kind of connect the guys who are here in America who went to my high school to the guys who are in Jamaica, or for those who are out of college in the US to connect with the guys who are in college, so that they can get guidance, they can get help, and we can also coordinate to send them like care packages and different stuff like that while they're in college, because it's expensive, even though you have a full scholarship, to kind of cover all those expenses. So the intention was to bridge that gap, provide mentorship, and also provide support for the school, and provide support specifically for the track and field team, because since the time I left, unfortunately, the team has kind of went downhill. So we're trying to revamp the team and like build back a certain vibes and all that. So that's kind of the big mission behind that intention. In terms of, I guess, the big takeaways, as I said before, it's kind of like I try to align myself with people who are following a deep vision and who are exemplifying the actions to create the vision. Because for me, I want to do the same thing with my efforts, the nonprofit, the communities that I'm trying to build, etc. And so it requires me to feed off of other people's energy, and Chris's energy is tremendous. Like, obviously we all see the impact of what he's doing, and it's a very big deal, because not a lot of people have the capacity or belief in themselves to execute and make that happen. And so seeing that in the leaders in the company was like a big deal for me. And even though the industry is challenging, seeing someone create something out of nothing gives hope to somebody like me who's coming from little, to be able to realize that you can do it too. It might take a little longer, but the reality is, if you're surrounding yourself with these people, then that mindset, that workflow, if you execute and create your routine, create your systems, that you can make it happen too. And that's that vision, and there's just that hope, that little hope. It made me like realize that this company is probably the best place for me to be, because that's what I want to be around, and those type of people are the people I want to be around. So seeing and having that culture around me every day is like the best thing I can ask for, coming from Jamaica to in the US.